I'm actually currently writing a book, and I'm curious from you, because you've been a bit of the maestro of this over the last little bit. What were the goals of this book, and how do you kind of approach the book writing process?
I want the book to be exceptional, and I want the book to continue to be spread after I die. And so that's the bar, is will people talk about this book when I'm dead? And so that's the bar, which is a pretty high bar. It's very easy to just like ghostwrite, make a slogan, put a cover on it, do a marketing campaign, and sell a book, and then have no one ever buy it again. Mm-hmm. And that is what 99% of books, I mean, probably more than that, 99.99% of books are. And it really comes down to, I think, the intention of the author, because most authors write books to make money in one form or another. I would say writing is probably one of my true artistic expressions. Like if I were a musician, I wouldn't make books. I would write albums that had like entrepreneurial motivation. It's just not me. So I write books about it. But like I was the editor in chief of the literary magazine in high school. I was vice editor of the newspaper. I got a full ride to Tufts for a writing scholarship. I didn't go.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I enjoy writing a lot, and it's getting the books has actually given me a really nice thing to do that I haven't been doing in a long time, and I really love it a lot. And so I think people can see the amount of time and effort that goes into the books. They are really an inefficient monetization vehicle. It has none of the things that I talk about, but I do think that there's an element of brand, which is what I give myself as my excuse for why I write them.
Yeah.
But in so doing and writing it from that perspective, technically, I'm like a 0.00001% author based on book volume and book sales. Like we're almost at 1 million copies sold between both of them.
Nice, congrats. There we go.
Yeah, without any like paid ad campaigns to the book, with the exception of the launch, right? Purposely was showing that to show that paid ads work for stuff.
Nice.
But I think it's really like always thinking, how can I make this simpler? How can I make this shorter? How can I make this easier? And I really do write to a 5th grader.
Yeah.
Because if you can write to a 5th grader, then everyone else will understand. But people mistake making things simpler as making them dumber.
Yeah.
And I think that's a massive mistake that a lot of content creators make, specifically within what I would consider highbrow industries, in the investing world or finance or even business, is that they try and make things sound complicated to make themselves sound smart, but all they do is confuse people and then no one listens.
Yeah, well, I like that. A couple of things about you, like unbelievably generous. I like the framing too of like, I'm going to write this book and it's got to live beyond when I die. I was talking to Travis actually, and he was saying,
Who's Travis?
When you're involved with the book, right?
Trevor,
sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
Trevor,
you're good.
Trevor, slipped my mind. Trevor was talking about, that was one of your guys' goals when writing it, was just like simple language, don't overcomplicate things, no jargon. People should be able to understand this stuff in 100 years. So you don't see a lot of talk around algorithms or platforms or fancy language unnecessarily.
Most books written before the 1950s were written because people would end their career and that would be their contribution to the field. They would say like, this is my 30 years of work and I've put into a book to move the field forward. That then started to come with status. Then people were like, maybe I can just write a book and get status. And then they started shortcutting it. And then the barrier to entry to getting a book published got lower and lower. And then once self-publishing started, anybody could publish a book. And so I think books overall have decreased in value tremendously since they were written the old way with the old intentions. But if you think about a book as a product, our goal has always been, one, that it lives on for a very long time. And the way to achieve that is that if one person reads the book, they refer it to more than one person. And by doing that, it will continue to live on, proliferate. And from a monetary perspective, if you work for 2 years to write a book and then it works, it continues to get spread for 200 years, that's a high leverage activity. But you really, really have to index on the fact that it's good. And so that's where it's like, if I spend 6 months on a book and it's pretty good, I might get 2 years of sales, right? But if I spend 2 years on the book, I might get 200 years of sales. And so it's like the difference between, a 9 out of 10 and a 9.5 out of 10 is probably 5 times the work. And there's between a 9.5 and a 9.7 is 10 times the work. You know what I mean? And so the orders of magnitude in terms of the effort that are required to get to squeeze out those really distill the knowledge down into what does someone do at the most basic level, allows it to be accessible to more people in more places, in more contexts.